Okay, in this Texture Animator tutorial, we're going to cover base opacity animation setups and a few things to get you familiarized is a base opacity animation will take a model and all the surfaces that are present in that model. It'll animate the opacity strength from its original setting. Well, if you want it to start at 0, you can specify that. It'll take it to its original setting and down to what you specify it as. And I'll cover that a little bit better here in a moment. And just so you know, for this tutorial, we're going to do a character and a transporter beaming effect. And just so you know that each model is handled separately. So if you got your Michael 4 character and you got a lot of props and clothing attached to it, each one of those will have to be handled in a separate base opacity animation setup. So in this case, our Michael 4 character and his boots, his pants, and his tunic, and if he had other props attached to him, like a phaser or something like that, that would also have to be done also. But let's get you started here. First, we're going to select the root node of the model, and then we go under menu, create base opacity setup, and a little dialog will appear, and it prompts you to enter the starting frame for this animation. In this case, we're going to start it at 40, frame 40. The next one will prompt you for the ending frame. And let me see, for the character, we're going to do 140 for the end frame. And the next one is the starting opacity in percent. So in this case, we're going to fade it out, so it'll be, our starting opacity will be 100%. Ending opacity will be 0. Click OK. As you can see down at the very bottom of Texture Animator, there's how many completed base opacity setups there are. And there it appears there. Let me explain to you what the format here is. The very first one, Michael 4, that's the name of the model and the scene. The next one, by the lesser than arrow, and to the left of the pound sign is the starting frame. To the right is going to be the ending frame at 140. On the other side of the greater than arrow is going to be the starting opacity. Now in the little dialogues it's entered in percent, but how Daz Studio natively works is opacity is instead of percentage, it's from 0 to 1. So if it's 50%, it would be 0.5, 100% is 1, 0 is 0. It works as a decimal, and I decided to display it that way in case it has a long file name up here, and it's just as easy to read. So, okay, let's move on. We'll do the boots next. Go menu, create a base opacity setup. Our starting frame is going to be the same for the boots at 40. Now the ending frame, I found clothing for a transporter effect works better to have it set to 10 frames longer than the character. It makes it look a little more believable. So in this case, we're going to do the clothing end frame at 150. Starting opacity is going to be 100%. Ending opacity is 0. And we just go down the line, select the next item, which is the pants. Go under menu, create base opacity setup, starting frame 40, ending frame 150, starting opacity 100, ending opacity 0. Next one down is the tunic. Go menu, create base opacity setup, starting frame of 40, ending frame of 150, starting opacity in percent, 100%, ending opacity 0. So you see it created all the setups that we needed. And just so you know, there is no edit feature for these. If you need to make a change, you have to remove it and recreate it. So unlike the texture animations, which has a editing feature, the base opacity setups don't, neither do the camera switches. So you just gotta delete it out with the remove commands, either remove all or remove a selected one from the list. And let's see, let me show you the remove part first here before I go on. Okay, so if you want to remove a single one, you just select it from the list. You go menu, remove base opacity setup. You'll be prompted if you want to remove it or not. In this case I don't, so I'm just going to, if you did, select yes. And if you want to remove all of them, you go menu, remove all base opacity setups. Okay, then there's also our reset base opacity. It's like the texture animation job. It'll reset it back to the original setting at the time of the setup was created. Okay, let's preview our animation. And let me stop there and explain to you. In the scene here, you'll notice this only happens in the Daz Studio preview window, and the preview window is just a fast preview of the scene. It's not as high a quality as a rendering is, and you can tell it doesn't handle base opacity animations very well. Daz Studio isn't currently designed for doing base opacity animation, so it just doesn't handle it. When it's handled, you can see how the texture looks a little messed up. But I'll show you in the rendered version, it looks perfectly normal. And what you see here is just the fast preview in the preview window doesn't display it right. So let me start rendering it, and I'll show you, and you'll see that it looks normal. Oh, we'll be back when the rendering's done. Okay, we're back, and our render is finished. And as you can see, put it over here to the side so you can tell. You can see in the rendered version of our scene that the face and everything looks perfectly normal. And in the preview window, you can see how the face looks kind of messed up. But that's what the preview window does. It doesn't display it correctly when the base opacity animation, but rest assured it's only in the preview window. The rendered version will be 100% like it should be. So I tested this countless times, and it's always been perfect. The rendered version's always perfect. So rest assured your finished product will look like it should. So, okay. And to continue on here, and as you can see, it fades our character out with the beaming animation. It looks pretty good until it's done. I got it set to loop, so so that looks pretty good. Not too bad. Okay. And just to cover that again, just so you remember, each model that's parented to your character is considered needs to be a separate setup. That's because in like a character like Michael 4, some of these surfaces for the opacity strength are different. For each one is different. Some are 100%. There's a few that are only 15%. Can't remember which one it was. They're like the tier is 15%. And like for the tier surface on the model, it needs to start at 15%, and over the course of the set animation time it goes from 15% to 0, and this surface pretty much stays at 0 because it's set at 0. The eyelashes start at 100% and fade into 0, and same one. So that's why it needs to be handled that way, because whatever your model is set at, each surface needs to be handled individually, or else base opacity animations wouldn't work right. So that's why it works that way. And just so you know, you can have a maximum of 30 base opacity setups per Daz scene file, which I found is more than enough for a nice group of characters and all their props and clothing to be transported away, like a Star Trek away team or something, or something like that. And also the quantity of surfaces, the maximum is 30, which I allowed for enough for a character to be animated. So like if your model has greater than 30 surfaces, the base opacity animation won't work for it. It's designed for models that are 30 surfaces or less. So, but it's I found most models that you would use that on, like all the characters for Daz Studio, have less than 30 surfaces, and it works out good for that. Okay, let's move on here. Okay, so as you can see, let me get out of this, put back on my okay, so let's see, we covered creating base opacity setups. There is no edit. Like I say, if you need to change something, the only option is to remove it and then just do it over again. And you can remove a base opacity setup just by selecting the one that you want to remove and just go menu, remove base opacity setup. If you want to remove all of them, clear all of them out, just go remove all base opacity setups. Reset base opacity is if something goes kittywampus or something and you need a means to reset it back to the original settings. That's what this is for. It's the same as the Texture Animation Jobs reset button. It sets it back to the model's original setting at the time that you set it up. And base opacity setups can be saved for later use and reloaded. So in this case, we're going to save them out. You would go under Menu, Save Base Opacity Setup. The Save As dialog will appear. You just select or name it whatever you want. It's the only option is text file format, and just click Save. If it exists, it'll prompt you to overwrite. Yes, that's done. And then let's remove them all here. Then we can reload it back in. We go under Menu, Load Base Opacity Setup, and let's make sure we're getting the right one. Yep, that one. And you can see it loaded them right back in. So that's about it for base opacity setups. And I thank you for watching, and I really hope you enjoy the plugin. Thank you.